Okay, hello and welcome back. Just going to briefly cover some burners, and I'm going to show you a nice little Rothenberg tool I found and some details about it. Right, so on the toolbox we have some gas burners, and this cigarette lighter is indeed a gas burner, but the flame on this is actually a very low temperature. It's okay for doing a shrink wraps, for instance. However, the flame and what it leaves behind is rather sooty. It's not something to be sneezed at because it is useful at times, always to be kept in the toolbox. This one here is a laser burner. It cost me about £20. It's also useful for doing shrink wraps. Now, there are ones on the market which are quite cheap, and Russ on Facebook said he got this Nielsen one for about £7.99, which is actually quite a respectable price. But the heat and shrink wraps, lighting cigarettes is the best use I can find for it. Now, what we have here is a Rothenberger Surefire 2, which I came across recently. Now, this uses propane and MAPP gas, and this is really a plumber's torch. It gives a fair bit of heat, and of course you have a mixing chamber here with air, not oxygen. Oxygen would be much better. However, we're getting into oxyacetylene. At home, if you can't get an oxyacetylene bottle, this torch is actually quite superior for heating things up to quite high temperatures. Now, the Rothenberg disposable MAPP cylinder, it's quite cheap. And MAPP gas is a mixture of, well, I'm not going to say, I'll leave it for you scientists to read that one out because I'm not that well educated. It is claimed that it will burn at 2000 degrees centigrade. Now, I think if you mix pure oxygen with it, that will actually burn at that temperature. But it's claimed that 2700 is pretty good. I'm not sure, I can't measure the temperature. However, this is acceptable for the jobs that I can do in the workshop. There is also the choice of propane, which is supposed to run a bit hotter, and that will be at 2800 degrees centigrade, but that's propane with oxygen. Now, the price is pretty good from Travis Perkins. For all you guys that live in the UK, you can get these gas cylinders from any DIY store that does plumbing. The price of the instrument is actually nearly £80, and I actually got a second-hand one, which I'm lucky at this point. Right, well, heating bolts, I'm just going to do a demo here. I usually use oxyacetylene at work for taking out large nuts or heating them off. And the concept behind this is to warm the nut up so it expands, it cracks the rust seal, and then when it cools down you can then take it off easily. This does work, the practice does work, but you need to get enough heat in it, you need to get it almost red. Now, the first stage of what I usually do is heat it, and then I'll heat the threads that it's got to run on, and then clean the threads with a wire brush. This will stop it snagging when it comes off the bolts. But heating and cooling will actually make a hell of a difference because you're adding a mechanical action. It's not a chemical reaction, it's a mechanical action. The steel will eventually give because it's about breaking the rust seal. So the next step I'll do is heat this quite considerably, and what I need to do is at least see it glow red. The whole idea is to get even heat all the way around the nut. That way it expands. So it's a simple demonstration you see in this video. It actually doesn't take long to heat this. I think this is an M16 bolt or M16 size equivalent of. And you'll see that the heat, okay, not at this point. You've got to see where it starts to glow. That will be where the heat has actually heated this up to a cherry red, but I need to get the main nut, I need to expand that, and you can see how much heat is actually in there. Alright, so that's very respectable, and compared with an oxyacetylene, you haven't got one, you've got to have a license to have oxygen acetylene in your garage. This is probably a very good alternative. Compared to this, which won't heat a bolt or a nut up to anywhere where you need it to, then this one, the Rothenberger Surefire, is actually a very good thing to use, and I'm well chuffed that I found this at a good deal.